important to have ownership in property?
Yeah.
Is it something that, everybody has to take part of?
I think, put simply, I think it's important. We're talking about ownership. We've spent a lot of time talking about stocks and investing in different asset classes. Property is just one other asset class. And I think the ultimate goal is to be able to have ownership in majority of asset classes, and property is a big one. I think certainly in our generation, property is one of those topics that there are no shortage of opinions, no shortage of just how to get on the property ladder, investing in property, and what the long-term gains could be for anyone who's invested in property. So 100%. And I think what's important is then drilling down, you mentioned financial advisory, is drilling down ultimately what the goal is. Without goal setting, then, you're, whether it's investing or anything for that matter, you're not going to achieve those goals. You need to set out some clear plans. You can get experts to help you on that one, which you just provided some free game on. But, you can set up some clear goals. When would I like to invest in property? And then at some stage, then start drilling down as to what constitutes as a good property investment. I spend, every single day working with clients, working on what constitutes as a good property investment. And I think once you get to that stage, then, it's either neither here or there. But ultimately, ownership in property is important. Just to give you some rough headline stats, I think the ONS provided statistics on different ethnic groups and their ownership on property.
Right.
And it put, if I'm not mistaken, those from an Indian background, that's 74%. Wow. White British, 68%. And then that percentage changed to 44% for Black Caribbeans, and I believe Black Africans, 22%. So what that actually tells you is it's quite nuanced, depending on what your background is. And it's important that various different people across the UK are adopting different strategies, right? So there are some who may feel like renting is important, and there's some communities who think that they have to own because they don't have a lineage of owners. So I think it's important also when thinking about those headline stats that why ownership is important. Some demographics believe it to be more important than others, and there are some who are now racing to make sure that they're owning over the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
So I think that's important, just thinking about the nuanced position across different people across the UK.
That's true, because I remember I went to Berlin in Germany, and renting is a thing there.
Yeah.
Like home ownership isn't. It's not. I don't know.
It's not a thing in Europe. So or certainly in main parts of Europe, and I'll tell you why. So ownership itself became an obsession when thinking about from the Thatcher time, and she introduced the idea, right to buy, and since then we've seen many people want to aspire to own property, and we're talking about pre-07 and all of that stuff. Actually, I would say it's actually pretty easier relatively to purchase property pre-07.
Yeah.
Right. And arguably you say that's actually what caused the problem. But that's the reason why, there's some countries in the world where ownership is actually magnified a bit more.
Just on that, just in terms of what you've just said in regards to aspects of ownership and how it led into that, there is actually a film that I would recommend certain people watch, and it was a big thing. It's called The Big Short.
Yeah, watched that many times.
I would highly recommend.
It's on Netflix, I think.
Yeah, it's on Netflix as well. It's got what's the name of that film? What's the name of that legend from The Office? Is it Will Ferrell? Is it? I forgot. I've forgotten his name, but him, Ryan Gosling, and a few other guys. It essentially highlights businesses, obviously, that are big into finance and stuff. And I only literally watched it for the first time this year.
See, that's interesting again. This year,
my mind was blown. Yeah. But just in terms of the context as to what kind of led to it and so on and so forth, it is a fair amount of information to take in, especially if you're not particularly nuanced in finances. But you can see the knock-on effect just throughout the film of being able to invest. And it's essentially a masterclass in knowing when to buy and when to sell, pretty much. Obviously, Riz and Chiddy have both watched it, so you'll both agree with me on that.
Yeah.
just for yourself, obviously, as someone that's a real estate, deals with real estate and so on and so forth.